you're about to get spoiled, and also there's some violence that you might not want to see. So that's just your warning anyway. Here we go. It's August 9th, 2019, and Cartoon Network just aired its finale to its one-season show, Infinity Train. The show has a happy ending, but you're just left wanting more. And then some time goes by and you see this video drop. All of a sudden you are now extremely hyped for season 2. But how will Tulip get back onto the train? Will she even get back onto the train? Well, Owen Dennis and the Infinity Train team made a decision that was the best choice, and a choice I don't see any modern cartoon doing. That is making a different main character for each season. This decision makes Infinity Train even more unique than it already was. But before we get into the review, if anyone who is watching this who is wondering if Book 2 or Infinity Train is worth watching, the answer is yes. Go and watch it. These are amazing seasons, like all 4 of them are amazing, and I really hope one day we'll get more seasons. For Book 2 of Infinity Train, I want to make this video better than the Book 1 review I did. Instead of going through each episode and reviewing all of them as like mini reviews, I instead want to talk about the overarching plot and every main character. Infinity Train is my favorite cartoon ever, and I want this review to hopefully show how good of a show this is. So with that all out of the way, let's dive into the overarching plot of Book 2. Book 2 stars Mirror Tulip, aka MT, running away from the Flex. We see that she has been on the run for some time, and for being probably the only person to escape is really impressive. I love this first episode, having her go through each car and just enjoying the adventure she has. I also love how she has to spray paint everything that is reflective. She knows who she's running from, and the fact that she has to spray paint everything reflective to me shows how much of a threat the Flex are. I love the foreshadowing with 1-1 explaining to new passengers what the train is and the way to get off the train is to get your number down. And then the next scene we get MT looking down at her hand, knowing the only way she gets off is with a number. I love seeing MT bond with Alan Dracula, and Alan Dracula is probably the only friend she ever got to talk to at this point. And when Jessie shows up, hanging out with Alan Dracula, she becomes jealous. I really like how the family tree car makes MT and Jessie get separated from Alan Dracula, so they have time to know each other and actually bond and later on become friends. After the map car, when MT drops her wanted poster out of her pocket for Jessie to pick it up, and then to rethink everything about her when they were just starting to get along is such a cool way of seeing how Jessie will do the right thing because it's right, or because he was told to do the right thing. But he eventually makes the right decision and traps the cops in the car, and even takes out Terrence the Toad. When we get to the Parasite car, seeing MT and Jessie being friends for the rest of the series is really cool, and I like it how they didn't have any sort of stupid like breakup arc where they don't like each other anymore. It really shows how much these characters have grown with only 10 minutes per episode. Then with the mall car, we get to see Simon and Grace. I love how we get to see Simon and Grace in Book 2 before we get to see them in Book 3. We did already see them in Book 1, but these are like now established characters. Simon and Grace are the exact type of people that make Jesse almost lose all of his progress. But Jesse sees what they are doing is wrong, and instead of just letting it happen, he stands up for all of them and does the right thing. Jesse, who had to go some steps back, has finally gotten his number down to 0. Too bad Grace got the Flex to chase them though. And we get the saddest moment in Book 2. The Wasteland episode, while it has her and Mace just talking for most of it, is one of the most interesting conversations I think I have ever seen. Mace really goes into his fan theories here. I love this scene here because he has a point. Like, once MT escapes, what is she even going to do? She can't just go out in the normal world. Like, it works because it's true. I don't know, it was so well written, I don't even really know how to describe it. You should just really watch it for yourself, honestly. That's why I showed the clips here. And Mace is, he got his, legs cut off earlier in this episode, and he's still finding ways to mess with her. MT manages to get it together, though, and when she gets back onto the train, and Mace, realizing that he isn't going to live for long, tries to take her down with him. And she does the only right thing, and, Oh my gosh, the fact we get to see him die in this much detail is insane to me. I like this moment at the end of the episode where she has to take a moment to breathe. She just killed someone, so to me it makes a lot of sense why she would need this moment. With the tape car episode, it's all about getting to see what the train is like. The tape car is so cool and I love the sci-fi visuals, and Chrome Canyon's music, as always, makes Infinity Train even better. When MT gets to the place to get her number and then goes straight through her hand, is just so painful to watch. All this work she did just for it all to end up be for nothing. I don't blame her for just breaking everything here. I hope those porters end up okay though, because they're kind of cute. For the end of this episode, we have 1-1 show up, which is super cool, but in the finale, we get to see that he's actually the one holding up the whole, train system. He can't just let MT leave because she is one of the train's creations, and she doesn't have a number, so there's no reason in his mind to let her go. Jesse coming back for the finale really shows how strong their friendship is. He's willing to come back to the train without knowing how long he'll even be there. Something that Jesse from episode 1 probably would have never done. Once they get Jesse into the tape car, we get to see his memories on how he got into the train for a second time, and we get to see him apologizing to Nate, which is really cool to see because Nate didn't deserve that, and I love how that was the first thing he did. I do wish that we could have seen how he actually got back onto the train, the process for that, but I'm still okay with what we got. Now, it does kind of stink for Jesse, though, because when he gets back onto the train, his problem is to get MT off the train. And since that's kind of impossible in 1-1's mind, because she's helped so many people on the train, his number becomes the Infinity in Infinity Train. That must be scary. Steve coming back and wanting revenge for Mace's death just makes this finale even more stressful. Well, yeah, he kind of gets it a little lame and gets stuck here for most of the episode. We don't get a really cool anime fight or anything. I absolutely love the way MT gets her number. She uses her reflective skin to reflect Jesse's number so it looks like she has a number, and that tricks 1-1 into letting her go because she has a number. It's something that she's been trying to hide through the whole season, but it actually ended up saving her life. I just think it's so cool. I like it for this episode how Alan Dracula has his nice moment where he actually helps him out by killing Steve. That's nice. And finally it ends with MT getting off the train, being on Earth, and now calls herself Lake. This has to be the happiest ending for the entire series. Well, that was it for the main plot. I know I really just gave you the basics on everything, but I want to make sure that people who watch this can still find some non-spoilers throughout watching book 2. So with that out of the way, let's go into the character's development. To talk about Lake's character development, we have to go all the way back to book 1. In the episode The Chrome Car, we get to see Lake for the first time, and she tries to trap Tulip in the Chrome Car so that way she could escape. She ends up learning that she can't escape and that she's actually trapped in the car. But since she tried to escape and broke mere law, the Flex are now after her. Luckily for her though, Tulip decides to help her out and she is now free after escaping the Flex for the first time. Then we get into book 2. We get to see Lake going through train cars, and I really like that she's been on her own for quite some time. And when she finally meets Alan Dracula, it's cool to see her just talk about her problems. Alan Dracula was probably the first friend she ever had. Luckily for her though, Jesse came into the picture, and even though she didn't like him at first because he called her Chrome Girl, and she totally overreacted here, making Jesse look very upset here. I just feel so bad for him. But it was really in character for her to do that. Knowing her backstory, it makes a lot of sense why she overreacted here, and also why she'd be so defensive of Jesse hanging out with Alan Dracula at first, and even giving Alan Dracula the name Alan Dracula. But after forcefully having to hang out with Jesse because Alan Dracula fell down a tree, she starts to be more open to him. In the map car, you can still tell that Lake isn't exactly okay with Jesse, but she's becoming more and more open to being friends with him. And in the Toad car, once she knows what Jesse did to get onto the train, and once Jesse knows what she did to get the Flex chasing after her, they become a lot more closer. Another neat thing about Lake's character development is that the whole time it feels like the train is against her. The train was against her leaving the Chrome car, the train was against her leaving with Jesse, and the train was against her getting a number. And when 1-1 shows up, the most likable character from book 1, you think, oh, this would be easy. But no, we forget 1-1's the one who is the conductor and holding up the system. Of course he's not going to let her go because it's the rule that he's enforcing. He has his own reasons for it. It doesn't seem unreasonable, like she's helping out passengers, and it makes sense if you look at it from his point of view. But the right thing to do would to be let Lake go into the real world with Jesse. Lake, though, has a really good idea, and she uses her reflective skin to reflect Jesse's number, so that way it looks like she has a number and she can escape with Jesse. And that is a really cool way to have an end of her character arc. I really like Lake, and it's someone that I wouldn't have been interested in from book 1, but I'm so glad that Lake was the star of book 2. And also, it was really genius to have someone who looks like Tulip and sounds like Tulip, but be a different character, so that way the people who were pretty skeptical about Tulip not being there could still be happy, and kind of like tricks your brain a little into thinking that it's Tulip at times, but it's obviously not. I just think that Lake's really cool. I wish that I had more to say about it, but for this review, I am not going to go on too long about it. But now, since we've talked about Lake, let's talk about Jesse. Jesse's character development is really something I honestly wouldn't think the show would cover. Jesse's a nice guy, and you would think that someone who seems to be really happy all the time shouldn't be on the train. But his character flaw is that he's too nice. He goes along with stuff that he really shouldn't. I think the map car is a great episode for Jesse because the whole time Lake is telling him what to do, and his number doesn't go down. It's only when he decided to do something that it went down. It's something you might not get the first time watching, but after watching all of book 2 and coming back to rewatch it, I personally noticed a lot more about Jesse. Like in the family tree car, he's trying to get both families to get along, but he wouldn't choose a side. He doesn't want to make anyone mad, but that's the problem. He can't just keep on going along with everything. He has to do something and stand up for what's right. When Jesse chooses to do the right thing by basically running away from the police, and when he came so close to almost going back to his old ways when Grace and Simon tried to have him join the Apex, for him to only see Lake and Alan Dracula, he decided he won't hang out with them or anyone like them, and he finally got his exit. At this point in book 2, Jesse's finally a changed character. He has reached the end of his character arc. But since Lake got trapped on the train, he makes sure to go back onto the train and get her out of there with him. I really like that because he didn't know if he was going to get off, truly. I mean, that was the whole struggle, but he still went back anyway, just to get her off the train. I think that's awesome, and it really shows how much Jesse has grown from episode 1 to now. It is really cool. But they finally get off, and he gets to see his brother Nate again, and brings Lake with him, and that is the end of Jesse's character development. And on to Alan Dracula. What I really say about him? He's a deer. He is just completely a deer, has the mind of the deer, but he has superpowers. Alan Dracula never really did anything useful throughout all of book 2. He had things that he did that helped them out, like this spinning head thing he did earlier in the map car, and then they were able to escape for the next episode. But Alan Dracula, he's just a deer, but he's lovable. You can't really not love him. And he does have his one good character moment at the end of the series where he destroys Steve and kills him. So that was cool, but that's really it for Alan Dracula. And I like it how Jesse named Alan Dracula, and that's just forever his name because that's what 1-1 calls him at the end of the episode. That's cool. I like Alan Dracula. That's all I have to say. And finally, I want to talk about Mace and Steve. They don't really have any character development. I like how Steve is always talking about the buddy system, though. I really like that they are the antagonist to book 2. It really adds some tension to book 2. At first, Steve comes off as a good cop type, but then later on we get to see that Steve is basically equal to Mace in evilness. Mace is very smart. He'll make you rethink basically everything about the train if he really wanted to. Like in the scene where he talks to Lake here, that was honestly really making me think there. I really like Mace, and he's definitely feels like he's the more developed one, but they're both equally good. And I think that Mace, honestly, just him being a lot more upfront about things makes him a cooler villain. That's all I really have to say about them. They're really good antagonists, and I really like them. Well, that is it for my book 2 review of Infinity Train. I don't know if I'll continue doing Infinity Train videos on this channel, But if this video does well enough, or if I have the motivation to do another one, I would really like to talk about book 3 because it is my favorite of the series. So if you enjoyed this video, let me know if you want a book 3 review. But that'll be it for this video. Thank you all for watching it. Goodbye everyone.